Welcome to BBQN Kenya, where we cook all things Kenyan food. Today, I'm going to show you how to make these delicious cassava chips at home. But first, why don't you watch me in Kenya eating some delicious cassava chips.
Limau iko wapi? Alifunga lini?
Why you gonna take one out of the This is cassava. Well, these are cassava chips, Anthony. More like a root, different kind of root vegetable.
Give you some lime.
Where's your grandma? She stay in the car? That's what we want, a bag of them hot chips. Mm. Okay. That's better, huh? Sorry.
Let me see. Weka kila kitu.
The spices they put on their chips are chili powder, salt, and fresh lime juice. Yummy.
Nyingine ni
Crunchy. You like them, son? They spicy. Dejan? I said just... You like them? They're spicy. As compared to a potato. Or you done ate the whole bag, Tahar, without sharing.
I just shared.
Woo-hoo.
Mom doesn't want to come out to stretch.
It's not. I figured you should have stretched your leg. Now, let's make some at home. Let's go. Cassava chips are best peeled and stored in water. They last the longest. Let's rinse them off. To slice the cassava, you're going to need a mandolin slicer and an empty bowl. Slice them as thin as you possibly can. This cassava chip is actually a little too thick. If you can get it thinner, it'll be better. These ones cook a little bit more like a kettle chip. This one is nice and thin. They're my favorite. They come out nice and crispy. Now it's time to rinse the cassava. Make sure to rinse it well. I usually rinse them off 3 or 4 times until the water is clear. You want to make sure that you get as much starch off of the cassava as you possibly can. I had a piece of cassava left over, so I decided let's make some cassava fries. We generally just make the chips. Those are our favorite. When making cassava fries, you have to cut the core of the cassava out because it is very hard and doesn't cook the same. Because cassava contains cyanide, we make sure to never eat any black spots, only the white stuff. Here goes our delicious looking cassava chips and our delicious looking cassava fries. Cannot wait to try these. It's definitely going to be our first time on the cassava fries. Next, we are going to take our cassava chips and lay them out on a napkin so that we can get as much water off of them as possible. And then also make sure that we separate them so that when they cook, they don't stick together. So set them all on a napkin and start to spread them out. Now that you have them all spread out on a napkin, this process usually takes me about 5 minutes. I come back every 2 minutes or so and then just make sure to keep separating them. And now you can see the more you separate them, the more cassava chips you get. Let's get to frying. You're going to need a wok, a wire whisk, and some hot oil. Place 1 small cassava chip in the oil to make sure the temperature is good. I always fry on medium-high heat. You don't want them to fry too fast or they'll go really brown, or too low and they'll get soggy. As soon as you place your cassava chips in the oil, make sure to stir them up so that they're not sticking together. You're going to want to constantly stir the cassava chips in the oil so that they detach from each other and make single chips. You want to cook your cassava chips for 4 to 5 minutes. You also want to make sure that your cassava chips are well done so that all the cyanide is cooked out of them. I like to say that when I'm making cassava chips, when I think they're done, I actually let them cook for an additional 30 seconds to a minute. I have my bowl ready. You would think at this time that the cassava chips are ready, but they actually still need to cook longer. When about 80% of your cassava chips have sunk to the bottom of the oil, that's when your cassava chips are done. Perfectly fried and crispy. Seasoning time. I put a little bit more things on my cassava chips than they do in Kenya. I start with clarified butter. Just a drizzle. Fresh lime juice. It's got to be fresh. Fresh chopped cilantro. Friday seasoning by Tones. I get this at Sam's Club. And I always say sprinkle the amounts that you want on it. You want it spicy, more spice. This is tropical chilies powder. This is the chilies powder that they do use on Kenyan cassava chips. Don't use much. It's like cayenne pepper. Lime powder. I get this from an Asian food market. And some sea salt. Shake, shake, shake cassava. Shake it all about. Yes. Shake that cassava. Mix it up. Place your seasoned cassavas in a bowl and let's get to frying some more. My daughter loves to come help me so that she can eat the first chip. Let's fry another batch.
That's a good chip. I want that chip.
My daughter picking chips while they frying. Shake, shake, shake the cassava, shake it all about. Once we have our cassava in the bowl, we throw on some extra seasonings. These cassava chips are so good. Love them. Let me get in here. Listen to that crunch. Mmm. Now let's make some cassava fries. I placed the fries on a napkin like I did the chips and let them air dry. I placed them in the fryer and let them fry for approximately 5 to 6 minutes. For my second batch, I decided to fry them with some wet fry flour. I get this also from an Asian food market. I added 1 tablespoon of the flour and 1 tablespoon of water. I mixed it up. I fried these also for 4 to 5 minutes, but when I fried these, because they had the wet batter on them, I had to make sure to continually stir it so they didn't stick together. The flour batter was just to add seasoning to the cassava. Here is what the ones with the batter came and looked like. Looked pretty good. And then here are the plain ones with no seasoning on them. So this is how I make cassava chips and cassava fries at home. I hope you enjoyed it. Try my recipe and come back to BBQN Kenya.